Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to today's video, which is a bit of a different one, but something that I still thought would be kind of fun and something to do together and that you also might be interested in. Okay, so long story short, it is my mom's birthday. She is an art educator, so she makes art on her own. She actually develops projects to be taught in schools. She doesn't do it much anymore, but she still has a very big interest in art, and she has her own little art studio, which maybe some of you guys have seen it in some of my old vlogs back in the day when I would go rummaging through her art supplies. For her birthday this year, I invited her to come along with me to a drawing workshop that's happening a little bit later in the month, and part of my gift to her coming with me to that little workshop that we're going to do together, I also wanted to give her a couple of things that essentially she could take with her to the workshop. So I got her a couple of just generic supplies, which I'll show you in just a second. And then I also got her a little watercolor tin. And my thought is that I want to actually fill it up for her with some of my favorite paints and get it as close to my current set that I'm using. And this is my current watercolor setup in my sort of on-the-go bag. That's not to say that I do use more watercolors outside of this, but this has been my go-to palette, I'd say probably since summertime. This has been the guy that has been living in my 5-year bag. I chuck it in there. I chuck it into my little utility bag when I go to my IRL drawing club. It fits nicely in my little pencil pouch. And I have found that just this batch of colors, and again, this is just stuff that really works for me. I'm quite happy with this. So I think that it might be kind of fun to basically create a replica of that again, or as close as I can for my mom. I thought that would be just a fun little addition to the gift. Here's a watercolor tin, but something that is actually filled with paint. This is a great gift idea, by the way, if you're ever trying to come up with something to give to somebody, giving them watercolor paints, maybe some of your favorites curated in together or some new ones, having it ready to go in the palette is just really fun. So I thought that it would be a fun way to share not only what's in my palette, but how I'm going to basically customize her. So that's mainly what we're going to be doing in this video. So I'll put that off to the side for just a moment because we'll get to that. I'll dig out all the paint and see how much of this we can replicate. And I'll do my best to swatch along as I go too. But I also did get her a couple of other supplies too that I'm going to wrap up. Just some favorites of mine that I thought that she might really like. These are these Sarasa vintage color pens. These are absolutely beautiful, really great to write with, but I love these in my 5-year journal. She also got a 5-year journal. I gave her one last year. She's about now to start on her 2nd year. She was just telling me how much she loves her 5-year Hobonichi. So I thought it might be fun to get her a pack of pens because these are some of my favorites that I use with my 5-year. I also got her a little pencil board too to use in her 5-year as well. So I'll probably put a little post-it note on it, use these with your 5-year, or use this with your 5-year, just to kind of show these are my favorites for that particular journal, and I think you might like them too. So those are just some little extras. Sorry, my pug Olive is going crazy outside. I also got her a pack of water brush pens just because I don't know if she has any in her studio, so I wanted to get some just in case. Obviously this goes with the travel watercolor kit, and the thought again behind this is that she would take it with us to the workshop because I exclusively use water brush pens in my little on-the-go setup when I do my little drawing club, and the workshop is being hosted by my drawing club, so that's why if you hear me say kind of both things, that's why. The other thing I got her was my favorite sketchbook at the moment. I use a lot of different sketchbooks for a lot of different things. I will point you to my 2023 lineup video if you want to hear me talk more about sketchbooks and art journals. That's a great video for that. But I picked out this one for her. This is the Strathmore mixed media paper because I know that she'd like the soft cover. I know she's going to like this paper, being able to do pretty much anything on it, especially watercolors. She's very big into urban sketching kind of vibes and using a lot of different media together. So I knew that this was going to be a good fit for her. And I don't know if she has this one, so I thought that it might be kind of fun. Naturally, I got the bigger sized one. This is basically 8 by 10 because she likes to work big. I work really little. She works ginormous. Our styles could not be more opposite. It's really hilarious. But I thought that this would be just a good thing to bring to the little workshop. So yeah, that's the little extras that I will wrap up nice and pretty for her. Again, I'll probably put little post-its on there just saying hey, I think you'd like this sketchbook because XYZ, you know, this is for your 5-year, this is for the workshop, whatever. And then of course the custom watercolor tin, which we will get to filling up right now. All right, now I'm gonna be trying to do my best to build a palette for her here. A lot of my paints in here, I'm realizing, are actually from other sort of sets, so I don't have them in tube form. For example, this black, this row of browns here, this was actually, I think I got this out of an Art Snacks box, this particular brown. This was from Jane Davenport sets. This was a Jane Davenport. This green's a Jane Davenport. A couple of these have been gifted to me. This gray shade and this orange are handmade colors that someone had gifted me. So there's just a couple of shades in here that I know I'm not going to be able to like fully duplicate into this set, but that's totally okay. I have enough here that I've pulled, and I've tried to curate colors that I think that she's going to like, but also ones that are some of my absolute favorites. I mean, there are some really big hits over here. I did go ahead and make a little swatch card just because I cannot for the life of me get these little things out of here. I think it's because of my nails, so I don't want to break a nail. Normally I would write on the side of these so that I know what they are, but I don't want to deal with fishing them out at this current moment. They're nice and snug. And again, I don't want to break a nail. I got my Valentine's nails. I don't want to mess them up. But what I am going to do is just swatch it on here, and then I'll label them so that she knows kind of what each one is just in case. So what I did is I rummaged through my watercolor tubes. I made a nice little pile over here, and we'll just work our way through. And I tried to kind of mimic a little bit of what I have here, really just defaulting to kind of favorites and ones that I think she's going to like. So I am going to fill the whole thing because I had enough that I think will work well. So we've got 7 colors on each side, and we're gonna go ahead and just dive right into it. So here we go. The reds that I have over here, this is from a Jane Davenport. Let me see if I can get you in a little bit closer here. This might be a little bit easier. So reds are tricky because I haven't really found a red watercolor that I'm like particularly in love with. So to be determined, you know, to be continued as I continue the hunt for, you know, a good red that I really love. But I do like the Quinacridone Burnt Scarlet from Daniel Smith is a really nice color. And I think it's going to be one she will like as well. So we'll do a little swatch on the card. I'm going to have to eyeball my spacing on this. But it's a really pretty red. Actually, this might be the red that's over here. Okay, never mind. So maybe I did match the reds right. As you can see, a lot of the paints that I use are either Daniel Smith. I use a lot of the core watercolors. I really love those. I also integrate in gouache into my palette, which you'll see in just a little bit here. So I'm putting a little bit of that red in there, and I'm not gonna like fill it up to the brim like how I would usually do mine, just because this is really like a sampler palette for her. I don't know how much she's gonna like. You know, if she uses one and she ends up really liking it, then I would go ahead and, you know, get her a tube of it or top her off a little bit more if she wants. What I'll probably do is just get all these swatched out, and then I'll come back through and label all of them. So let's pray to the paint organization gods that I don't mess this up along the way. Okay, moving on. As I mentioned, my kind of like orangey color is a handmade color that someone had sent to me. So I kind of have to, you know, find a different replacement. But next up, I'm going to do Daniel Smith Aussie Red Gold. This is a really pretty, just like a beautiful orange color. So we'll swatch this. I know this is like not the best that I'm just doing it right out of the tube, but it's fine. I feel like it has a little bit of like gold undertone. So it's nice because it's not like a super, in your face orange. It's got like a burnt orange kind of vibe to it a little bit. I would definitely consider a warmer orange, but again, really pretty if you're not a super orange person. But still want to have some in your palette. Get the lid back on this guy. Okay, next up, I did want to include a darker pink in her palette. So we've got the Daniel Smith Quinacridone Magenta. And you know Opera Pink is coming up next, but I don't know if she's going to like Opera Pink. I love opera pink, as you can tell in my palette here, even though it does not scan. So it's hard whenever I have like a finished piece of artwork and it's something that I want to, you know, create a digital design of. But you see this color here? I know she's gonna love this. This is up her alley. Sort of cosmic-y colors, certain purples. This is definitely a color my mom would like. It's also just, I think, a really pretty Daniel Smith color. That's the quinacridone magenta. I think it leans a little more purpley than magenta, personally. But looking good already. I'm kind of liking even just these colors next to each other. It's kind of giving me Sedona vibes, which is good because that's definitely, again, captures my mom a little bit. It's kind of fun making a palette for someone else too, because I feel like I'm really like thinking, you know, would she like these colors? Is this her vibe? Now I know this is not her vibe. This is the Daniel Smith Opera Pink. Oh, this color is so much fun. I mean, come on. This is not my mom's vibe, but come on. It's so fun. How can you not? I love using this color as backgrounds. I'll use it as like a wash on something, like just a wash of background color. It's just so fun. This might be my second tube of this, I think. Because, you know, these watercolor tubes, you know, they last you a long time. And a little bit goes a long way. But I'm pretty sure I'm on my second tube on that. Okay, Moon Glow. You know I have to have some Moon Glow in there. If I can open this tube. Oh, no. Oh, we got it. We got it. We're good. Moon Glow is like a... Oh, clearly I haven't opened this one in a while. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Moon Glow is one of those classic Daniel Smith watercolors. I feel like there was a few years ago where Moon Glow was just like really popular and everyone was talking about it. It's just a very recognizable color. It's like a really deep purple, violet sort of hue. It's looking really black on camera here, but it is, I mean, it's like a charcoaly purple is how I would describe it. But that's a Daniel Smith classic. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Where's my Moon Glow fans at? Okay, so we got Moon Glow there. Then, as I mentioned, my mom is a cosmic kind of gal, so I'm adding in some purple. This is not something that's in my palette currently, but I think it's a color that she's going to love. This is from the Core watercolor set. I bought a set of these, and there are all these really vibrant colors, which includes some of my favorite yellows and greens ever of all time. I think it was like a 6-tube set or something like that. But the colors in this are so vibrant. The payoff is amazing. Ooh, I might have had too much paint on my brush there. The color's really vibrant and it's not granulated. So that's going to be the real difference with these. You're going to get just nice smooth color without the granulation. Okay, just picking up some excess there. So this one specifically is the Dioxazine Purple. Very pretty. When I think of my mom, I think of this color. This is definitely her vibe. We'll get a little bit of that in. My mom is also an Aquarius, obviously, at the time that I'm filming this. And just knowing that it's her birthday. She is an Aquarian. So I feel like this has a little bit of Aquarius vibes, kind of. Maybe not the pinks, but like as we crawl into the blues here. Oh, geez, I'm getting paint all over myself. Hold on. Be right back. Paint accident. Ah! Okay, we're back with clean hands. I also scooped up a little bit of the Moon Glow that was on my swatch too, just to tone it down a little bit, because I think I had too much paint on my thing there. Okay, we got the purple in. The last one on this particular side, and I know this is off camera, last one for this little spot here is the Core Watercolors in Indigo. Hold on, Dante's trying to get into my studio. Go lay down. I don't have any food. Go lay down. I don't have any food. Okay, last one on this one side of Mamacita palette over here is the Core Watercolors in Indigo. Love this color. Just a beautiful dark blue that is gorgeous. This was actually the color of how I first got introduced to these paints. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. It is a beautiful blue. This is an absolute must in my palette. I have it over here in my palette and I use it pretty frequently because it's just beautiful, especially when it dries down and doing any sort of like gradients with it. Look at that color. Oh my God, beautiful. I feel like I'm on the Home Shopping Network or something right now. This is a must for my mom's palette. I think she would really like that one. And again, one of my favorites. And as I said, this was the first color that introduced me to the Core watercolor paints. And then I really just got hooked from there. Okay, so we've got one side down. And let's go ahead and fill the other side. Here we go. Okay, first up I have a L'Aquarelle, just a neutral. It's just a neutral tint. Just a good like black gray. It's really more like a dark gray, I'd say. I mean, it's black, but it doesn't granulate like the Daniel Smith watercolors do. And I should preface that I am by no means like a watercolor expert here. I use them in a mixed media context typically. But it is just a really pretty black without it being super in your face black, which is really nice. This was a brand that I got introduced through Art Snacks. Really beautiful high color, or high quality rather, watercolor paints. They're beautiful. Next up we've got some white, and this is the M. Graham & Co. Titanium White Opaque. I'm not going to swatch this obviously because it's just white. But I tend to like to spend a little bit more money on kind of like my white and black, like my colors that I know that I use all the time or that I'm going to be using for mixing. To me, I think it's worth it to get a nicer paint for that. I'm not going to swatch the white, right? Well, maybe we do just so that I can label it. That seems silly, but we'll swatch it just so it's there. Even though it's picking up some of the orange off my brush, but that's fine. It will remind me to label it. It's fine. But yeah, I do think it's worth it investing into nicer paint for kind of like your basics or your neutrals for sure. Next up is a color that I really love that I don't know if my mom's going to like it, but I do want to include some of my favorites. It's this Cadmium Lemon, and it's actually a gouache. I do like putting gouache into my palettes from time to time. And I also just recently got some of the gouache watercolor hybrids. Really excited to play with those and get those potentially into my palette. We shall see. But this Cad Lemon is a color that I used a ton in art school, but is really fun just to have as a pop of color, whether it's for like a background of a sketchbook. It's great for mixing, especially mixing with some of the greens that I have kind of upcoming here. It's just a really fun color to play with. Obviously, the Winsor Newton Designer's Gouache is top of the line gouache, but I've had this tube for years. No joke, this is one of my leftover gouache tubes from art school, and it still lives on, and it's one of my absolute faves. Oh, helps if I get it into the palette over here. It's fun just to have a really obnoxious yellow. I feel like my yellows are either like burnt, like very ochre-y, like a yellow ochre, or they're really like neon, like obnoxious. There's kind of like no in between for me. Next up is a color that is absolutely one of my favorites. I use it pretty frequently. You can actually see that where I've replenished it in my own pan. It's like second or third little droplet there. It is the Quinacridone Gold in the Core watercolors. This came in that set that I mentioned earlier. Absolutely love this color. It is a beautiful yellow, just like a gold kind of burnt yellow if you really lean heavy on it. A little bit of an orangey undertone, but just absolutely beautiful. I use this color a lot. My patrons can vouch for me on that this is a color that I use pretty frequently. Sometimes it often will replace like an orange for me. I don't use oranges very often, and I think it's because of this color. It feels like an orange for me, so I don't need it in my palette. Although, again, I do like this orange that I use over here. Gifted. Okay, next up, my patrons know this color very well. This is the Core Green Gold. This is what I call my sick day green. And it is because it is the green color that I use anytime I have a sick day with my son or myself. In my 5-year planner, this is the color that I use. And you'll see it's because it's a perfect like Linda Blair pea soup green, and I love it. I love it. It's a really gross green color, perfect for sick days. But it's a really fun color to use though. I use it a lot in my journaling, in my sketchbook, just as a really fun, like vibrant green. And it's got a gold undertone to it. So it's definitely like a warmer green, I would say, but definitely one of my favorites. This is up here with like opera pink, and then this green gold core watercolor, again, what I call the Linda Blair green. Is something that I use quite often. Now, I've already forgotten to go back and fill some of these tubes up. So we've got I had to go back and do this gold one. The quinacridone gold. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. That's how I pronounce it. It's probably not right, but whatever. Okay, and then we have the Linda Blair green. Sick day green. I use that one a lot. And I say my patrons can vouch because over the years, it's just become the sick day green color, which is kind of funny. And that lives in this spot here in my palette. So you can see it's like I have the bright yellow gouache, here's the yellow gold, and here's my sick day green all right in a row here. Okay, the next green is a different one because the other green that I have here, which is my darker sort of olive green that I like to use, is actually from a Jane Davenport palette. So that's not something that I'm going to be able to recreate. But I went ahead and pulled a Daniel Smith watercolor. This is Green Appetite Genuine, just to have a darker green shade in here. Because again, I don't have that other one, but I think this will complement kind of the other colors that we have going on really well. And like I said earlier, this bright yellow gouache that I use, the Cad Lemon, mixes really well with any of these sort of shades here. This green is really pretty. Maybe I should put this in my palette. I sense some updates to my palette coming soon, but I will say this is the longest arrangement of colors that I've had in here for the longest time. This is another big one for me that I use a lot. It's the Core Watercolors in Cobalt Teal, and it's this color right here that is in my palette. I use this a ton. It's great for just like solid backgrounds. I illustrate with it a lot. It blends well with other colors really nicely. It's just a really fun color to use. And it's very much not granulated, so you're gonna get that like pure blue color payoff, which sometimes I'm looking for. It's just something that kind of, it oftentimes can lay down like a gouache. That's the best way that I can describe it. It's just really, really pigmented flat color. Obviously you can do it more washy if you want to, but I do like for that particular shade, I can layer it down with a bit more opacity in comparison to some others. So that is so that's the Cobalt Teal in that last spot there. Wow, this green is really pretty. Maybe I do need to get that in my palette. That one's the Green Appetite Genuine. Wow, because it's granulated, but look at how it's drying down. It looks so nice next to my sick day green there. Beautiful. Okay, so we'll get some of this Cobalt Teal in here. And I think we are all squared away. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now off camera is go ahead and label these swatches. Maybe write a little, I've got extra space down here, so maybe I'll do like mom's birthday palette or something like that, something cute. But we've got some nice watercolor colors in there for her ready to go. So I'm gonna go label this up and then I will show you what everything looks like. All right, so here's the final palette all squared away. It's so funny how haggard mine looks next to it. Obviously, I could fill the center row here with things, much like I did with mine, but I want to give her flexibility to either add some of her own, or I still think this is a good amount of paint to get her started. I also did go ahead and labeled all of the rest of the colors in there, so if you want to take a screenshot of any of this, you can. And I will probably just include this in her little gift package when I wrap up everything else here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I thought that it would just be a fun way to kind of share just, you know, setting up some new watercolors. I mean, who doesn't love setting up paint like this? It's so much fun. Let me know if you want to see me revamp my palette, because I did just order some new paint, so I feel like some of these are probably going to get rotated out. We shall see. But it was fun to at least kind of create a new palette, you know, roughly inspired by some of my own favorites. So I hope you guys enjoyed just this chatty little hangout, setting up some paint and talking art supplies. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave a comment down below. Any of that helps the channel. Thank you so much. And think about subscribing if you're not. I put out a new video every week. That said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next week for a new video. Bye.